completely different topic.
Yeah, it
You
certainly is.
know.
Well, and I'm going to begin our conversation with kind of a heavy one.
Hmm.
4 years ago,
Yeah.
everything in the world kind of came to a halt. We didn't know how long
Hmm.
COVID was going to last.
Yeah.
How did you make it through that time period, and how did it change you?
How did I make it through it? I made it through it with a shitload of drugs and attempting suicide twice.
Oh, wow.
Um, so I'll give you a little bit of a story because it's beautiful that you brought that up at that section. Yeah, I actually bought a business 3 days before COVID. So I was in the Caribbean. We signed on the dotted line. COVID struck. We flew back from the Caribbean because of COVID. We were actually we were in Grenada, and then they shut Grenada down, and we flew to Miami. And you've been to Miami, right? You must have. You've definitely been to Miami.
I have been to Florida. I've not been to Miami. I want to badly.
Okay, so it's one of the busiest cities in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Especially for Florida, the state of Florida. Miami is like it's absolutely booming. So we get there, and when I drive the car out of the airport, and there isn't a car on the road, and I'm like, okay. So we get back. Cut the long story short, 3 days later they close us down. Where I have now 27 members of staff. I've now gone from zero debt to $2.7 million, 2.7 million pounds overnight, and we don't even know where the next penny's coming from to pay the bills. So from that point, then how I got through COVID was literally with a lot of drugs because I didn't know how to deal with it, and I've always been a substance abuse addict. I've always been an addict of substances, and cocaine was always my kind of cocaine or ecstasy was my kind of thing. So my reverting back to that was I ended up sniffing a lot more cocaine. I lost my auntie in COVID as well. She had a literally freak accident, nothing to do with COVID. She fell off a little step this big, cracked her head on the sink, and she smashed all the skull in and just bled out on the floor. Um, then at the end of COVID, I made a decision that if I was going to continue like this, I was going to die through taking drugs. And then I had an ex girl. I had a girlfriend at the time that left me, and that threw me over the edge. And I went to Portugal, and the story can continue, but I'm just kind of bringing it all together.
Sure.
And at that point, there was something that just changed and I clicked. And from there, I've been clean for 3.5 years. I now work for Tony Robbins and now change people's lives and now inspire people, especially in the UK. I'm a professional skydiver. I own a skydiving drop zone. So, the short answer of it is I took a lot of drugs. The the beautiful answer of it is that it was the biggest gift that I could have ever had. Like
Yeah.
it was a beautiful gift. Like because if I hadn't gone through that process, I wouldn't still be here right now. I wouldn't be clean for 3.5 years. I wouldn't be promoting the business. I wouldn't be serving people in a different manner. I wouldn't be speaking to you right now on podcasts. I would have never got on podcasts to tell any of my story. But
Yeah.
because my story is so empowering, for people to change and the mindset of people, and that we are not our minds, we are, we live from our heart, we're not from our head. Everything then becomes apparent, and then it's a beautiful gift. So, like at the time, and I call it a shitty gift. I call it a shitty gift. It was shit at the time, and actually, it was so beautiful. And when I look back now, and one of the things that I do every single day is I'm not with the girl that I was with her at that time. I thank her every single day of the week because she gave me an even bigger gift. She gave me a gift that made me realize that if I wasn't going to change, I was going to continue to do the same creative pattern and still go into relationships and not have them work. And then I would feel lonely, and then I wouldn't be loved, and all the kind of human needs that we all need. And it kind of rolled down into that. And then from there, I'm now getting married in July.
Wonderful. So let's get to the
So,
heart and soul of what you do
mhm,
right now in 2024. I'm going to
mhm,
put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, third graders. It's career day.
mhm.
And one of the
Yeah.
kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer
So
them?
I'm an entrepreneur that owns 14 businesses. One of them is skydiving business with two airplanes. One of them is a professional transformational coach. public speaker as well. I am in the firework industry as well, and I have been for 23 years. And what I do for a living, realistically, is I create businesses and I get people to run them for me. I'm a business owner, not a business operator.
Gotcha. So, what did you want to be when you were in the third grade? When you were a kid, what was your dream?
Firefighter.
Okay, okay.
And then I ended up selling fireworks.
There you go. You can't script this thing, man. Life is a very strange beast. So, being an entrepreneur is a very specific thing in people's DNAs. How did those seeds grow and get planted into you to become who you are today?
So my dad's always been an entrepreneur for as long as I've been alive. So it's pretty much in a short answer is my dad. He was the person that was not around for me, and he was the person I looked up to the most and wanted the most amount of love from that I never got. So I aspired to be him because he was making a lot of money back in the day when fireworks were, my dad was the first ever human being to bring fireworks from China into the UK, and he was just making money from nowhere. It was like, and he was a market trader originally. So it definitely 100% came from my dad. The entrepreneurial side, definitely. The sports side actually came from my auntie and my mum, realistically. So.
Yeah. So, who's been a hero for you? Who's been an inspiration in your life?
Oh, I've had many heroes because my belief is that heroes change at certain times. Um, so one of my heroes was called Thomas Hughes, and he was a professional skydiver. And he was when I started skydiving 16 years ago. He's the person I looked up to. Now, Tony Robbins is a hero of mine. Another guy, Jeff Lobeck. He's my mentor and coach. He's someone I look up to. Pete Allen. He's another skydiver. Ernie Els. When I used to play golf as a youngster. I mean, I nearly turned professional golfer when I was teaching professional, by the way, not tour player. When I was 16, 17. So there's been a lot of different kind of individuals that, in my opinion, in my life throughout the stages of people I've been looking up to and heroes, if you want to call them that. Spender Paul Dewey was another one who I worked in a professional bar, chucking bottles around like Tom Cruise, fire breathing. He was the guy who taught me how to do all that. He was the guy I looked up to. People may say celebrities, but the only real kind of one that I really look up to because of the fact that he was the one that give me the platform to change and made a lot of sense is Tony.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins is the one that I've never met him, but I work for him. I do a lot of volunteering for him, but he's the one I look up to. He's the only one that I would ever say is a celebrity.
Yeah.
And he's not even really a big celebrity, really. I mean, in the UK, he's definitely not a celebrity. Nobody knows who the hell he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he has been consistent. I remember when I was a kid, I used to see the infomercials, and I have
Mm-hmm.
always been blown away by how influential and consistent and unscathed and sticking to his guns that he's been. He's a good cat.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. People always say, "Oh, why does Tony charge so much money to go to his events?" And I was one of them people, right? Until I went in December to his signature Date with Destiny, and within 40 minutes of being there, I was like, "Wow, okay, I now know why." And it was because when I sat down and I paid, in excess with travel and everything else, in excess of $10,000 to be there for a week, I was like, my ears were parked up, and it didn't matter what he was saying. My frigging fingers were moving with the pen, and I was like, that's why he charges so much money because your attention span is now even more.
Yeah.
Like, so you want to listen to this,
Yeah.
and it made complete sense to me.
So
Complete sense.
so you're a high octane guy that's achieved a lot in your life. What has been what is the gas that gets you up every day? What is it that makes you successful? What is it that keeps you moving in the right direction?
Now, life, literally life, like the whole concept. Sorry, it's Joe, isn't it?
Yes.
Joe. So the whole concept of being here, Joe, is the thing that gets me up because at the age of 21, I had a cocaine overdose and they brought me back to life in an ambulance. Just over like a year ago, it was a serious panic attack, which I thought was a heart attack. And I had a spiritual outbringing, which like I went into kind of like out of my body experience. And I've attempted suicide twice, and one of them was trying to drive the car off the cliff, and the car was about, I'd say, less than 150 yards away, and it was a phone call that saved my life.
Wow. Wow.
So just being here, just being able, and it may sound ironic and it may sound like scripted, but one thing I'll tell you is none of this is scripted. Is just for me to be able to speak to you right now, that is the most joyful thing that's happened to me right now in my day.
Yeah.
20 minutes ago, when I was hitting golf balls, even though they might have not been going in the right direction, that was the most joyful thing to me in my day. And I think when you've been to that place of rock bottom, I mean, rock bottom, where there's nowhere else to go but death, then life becomes so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in your capacity as an entrepreneur, you have to dispense good advice to those that are around you. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Oh, that's a great question. What a great question. What's the brand? I think the first thing that comes to my mind is that we are not our minds. We are not our minds, and our minds do not control our bodies. You know, and that we have the opportunity to change that. I think that's I've had a lot of great advice throughout the years. But I think recently it's always been about, that side of it. I think I've been very fortunate, Joe, and I really am very, very grateful that up to like 3.5 years ago, I think I was probably winging life. I was winging these businesses. I kind of didn't know where I was really going. And, I kind of got up because I had to get up, and I was waking up, and there was no purpose there. And then 3.5 years ago, when I went through something which was, life changing, and in a heartbeat, I changed. That was where everything like kind of expanded.
Yeah.
So that's a very difficult question, but a very great question, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I dig it totally. So, of all of these things that you've done and overcome and become in your life, what are you the
Mhm.
proudest of?
Oh, that I just quit drugs and alcohol, 100%,
Yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. Like, and drugs, alcohol, smoking, the whole lot. Like, that's the biggest, the proudest moment I've ever done is that now I don't even think about having an alcoholic drink, or I don't even think about taking any drugs, and that's without fail. And I've become a national champion in skydiving. I've been represented Great Britain in skydiving. I've won. I've been on Sky Sports for playing golf when I was younger. I played ice hockey for Manchester Storm and went to Canada and played with them when I was at 13. I mean, I've done a hell of a lot of stuff in my experiences, but I think the proudest moment, without fail, I mean, buying businesses is proud moments, but they don't last forever. I just being able to turn my life around. There you go. Being able to turn my life around and becoming a better human being. There you go. That's it. That's the
That
proudest moment, man.
so let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that
Yeah.
young version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained. What
Mm-hmm.
advice would you impart on that young version?
Get life coaching. Get a coach. Get a coach that's going to teach you about life. Whether it not a or a mentor. In fact, no, I'm going to change that actually. Get a mentor that you look up to in life, as in not just in sport. I mean, we all have them. And this is one of the big things that my belief is this, and my hallucination is that where a lot of people fail in life right now is that they think coaching is for sports and whatever else, or like Spanish coach or language coach or whatever, but they never look at the actual thing that keeps them going every day, which is the life. And it sounds ironic, but we all get coaches for everything else, but we never look at the one thing that we do every single day, which is life.
Yeah. That's so well said, and it's so true. So as a sports fan, if you could get
Mhm.
into a time machine and go back in time and see one event, one game, where are you going?
Oh, I'm going to go to the Masters when Tiger Woods come back from his comeback and watch him win the Masters without fail.
Yeah, for sure.
because that was just a moment that was just crying, you know.
Yeah. Have you seen him play?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't seen him play. No,
Wow. Yeah, I would imagine that would be transformative just to see how he does it, just to see
yeah,
how he rolls, you know.
and I think you know a lot of people. I could have said, you know, go back and see him win his first ever Masters and him play amazing. And no, for me it was, and the reason, and I give you a reason why I would do it when he come back, when he because for what he went through with all the psychology of what happened with his wife and the having to stand up in front of all the TV crowd and having to give a "I'm sorry" speech when, you know, he's just a human being that fucked up. Pardon me, French.
Oh, you're good.
To then stand in front of every single human being and say, "Hey, I'm sorry because I'm Tiger Woods. I'm sorry I slept with somebody else and my marriage broke down." I mean, like that's horrendous. And
Yeah.
then to come back and win a Masters,
Yeah.
that is like that's like a big fuck you.
Yeah, right. So so let me ask you this. Everyone out there has a perception of you. Family,
Mhm.
friends, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your
Yeah,
perception of you? Who do you think you are?
high energy, beautiful state person that just wants to serve people and help people and be the best version that I possibly can be. That's the version that I am, and I say that every single day to myself.
So
And a lot of people would say I'm freaking crazy as well, but
it's good. It's good to be a little crazy. So let me ask you this. If you could go back in time and see one event in human history or go into the future and see what's up, where are you going?
we're back in time without fail.
Go where?
Yeah, I'm back in time, and do you know what? It's just, and this has just come to me. And do you know what? You're amazing at asking questions. I got to tell you this.
Thank you.
It's absolutely beautiful because you're really getting my brain to go into my soul to go to a different part. I would actually go back to when World War II finished.
Yeah.
For some reason, I've always felt like a connection to World War One and World War Two. And when you ask that question, then the first place I was thinking of going back is anywhere where and the first place is coming to me is America. Like when World War II finished and we're having all the big parades and it was all over and it was all finished, just to be around that energy of humans actually being joyful
Yeah.
for just the most simplest thing, and that thing is life. The most simplest thing. That's not any materialistic thing. That's actual pure joy
Yeah.
of when they were happy, were joyful that this shit was over,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And yeah, there you go.
That
That's so
that
thank you for that.
Yeah, no, that's so well said. In fact, in Kansas City, we've been winning Super Bowls lately, and I always go to the parade because it's the one
Mhm.
unification moment where everybody's
Yeah,
just happy to be in the
yeah.
city, to celebrate it. It's
Mhm.
good. So speaking of celebration and getting to life, if anyone wants to reach out to you, see what's going on, any of the good business that you got, how do they do it?
That's a good question. Right now, Instagram, Facebook. So Peter John Mather, 1984 for Instagram, and then it's Peter John Mather for Facebook. My website, peterjohnmather.com, is just being built right now. That's about it right now. I'm trying to get into that whole world of all that, but one step at a time, you know.
Yeah. Peter, keep kicking ass, my man. I appreciate your
Cheers,
time
bro.
today.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Have a good one.
You too.